Welcome to Three Thoughts On. Today, we are going to talk about the Lake Nona Fund, which is an organization that invests in the future of health and sports. The Lake Nona Fund invests in early-stage innovative startups that are shaping the future of sports and health. The fund builds on the legacies of two truly unique founders, Lead Sports and Health Tech Partners and Tavistock Group. My guest today is Thomas Rudy, who is the principal for the Lake Nona Fund. Prior to joining as the principal, Thomas has been a mentor to Lead since 2017. He is the co-founder of WhiteRock, an advisory firm working on mergers and acquisitions, transactions, and investments in the sports and entertainment sectors. In 2019 and 2020, he was voted one of the top 25 experts in SportsTech in the North American SportsTech report. Rudy's career in sports investment banking started at Citigroup in New York City, where he worked as an analyst for the firm's sports advisory group. In this role, he worked with the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NBA, NHL, MLS, and European football team owners to buy and sell franchises, as well as finance the expansion of their enterprises. He graduated from Columbia University in New York City in 2006 with a bachelor's in economics. Thomas and I discussed a variety of topics related to helping new companies succeed in the fields of sports, health, and technology. Whether you are an investor anywhere in the world or a Lake Nona resident here in Florida, I think you will enjoy our conversation. And now, Thomas Rudy. Welcome to Three Thoughts On. Today I have Thomas here with me. Thomas, thank you for making the time. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Rafael.
Well, Thomas, you and I share office space here in Lake Nona. And today we're going to talk about the Lake Nona Fund. But before we do that, why don't you take a couple of minutes and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up here in Lake Nona and how you ended up doing what you do for the Lake Nona Fund.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm really excited to talk to you about this topic, what we do in terms of investing at the forefront of sports and health here directly in the heart of Lake Nona. I'm Thomas Rudy. I am the principal of the Lake Nona Fund. That means I'm responsible for making all investment decisions within the fund and managing the portfolio. I'm also the chief investment officer at Lead Sports, overseeing our general investment activities. Born and raised in Germany. I have been in the U.S. for over 20 years now, came here in 2002 to attend Columbia University in New York City, studied economics, and like so many, after graduating, had one of my first jobs in finance, and I was lucky to be selected by Citigroup in 2006, at the time one of the largest financial institution in the world with 400,000 people. Got thrown into an analyst training program of 10 weeks where they tested you and ranked you and see where you were a fit. And I was within the investment bank at the time. Interesting enough, there were a few awards along the way during that trainings program. There was awards for most participation, best test scores, and so on and so forth. The award that I happened to win, I'm not sure if that was a compliment or not, was NYC Nightlife Most in the Know. So that was something that obviously showed a little bit my social side than the skill set in the boardroom, so to speak. But nevertheless, at the end of the program, I was called into the Human Resources office, and I told you and one of your partners out of nearly 85 analysts, you're in the top 2, and tomorrow you're going to interview with the CEO of Citigroup to see who he likes better and become the analyst of the CEO. Long story short, I did so. I was very nervous, obviously, to work directly with a global decision maker overseeing hundreds of thousands of people. And I had the interview. Next day, I get called into the HR office again and was told, Thomas, I'm sorry, you did not get the position. Your colleague got this. So instead, we're putting you on the sports team. And I got ecstatic. I remember it as it was yesterday. I jumped out of my seat and I said to the HR lady, "Are you kidding me? That's so much better." And from there on, my career in the world of sports investment started. I became an investment banker, helping effectively very wealthy people buying and selling professional sports teams. And since I was the first European on the team, they said, "Hey, why don't you look at the soccer thing in Europe? That could maybe be interesting, see what you can do." So we ended up writing a white paper to Citigroup management to get approved doing transactions in England at first, but then also looking at Italy and Spain and some other countries in Europe, France as well. And the rest is history. It got approved. And fast forward today, there are more American owners than British owners in the top flight Premier League. There's American owners in England and France and Germany and Spain, in Italy, all over. And we did a little bit to kind of lay the groundwork to make that happen. And I saw early on that people that invest in sports aren't just passionate about teams that they invest in, but that they also know how to make a lot of money with it. And that was always quite intriguing to me. So long story short, I wanted to stay in the sector, but I didn't come all the way from Germany to be an employee for the rest of my life. I came there with an entrepreneurial spirit. And so in 2017, I saw the opportunity to start my own company called WhiteRock. And what we effectively built was a small boutique investment bank with a business partner of mine that focused on advising companies and clients and teams that built the bridge between North America and Europe. In 2017, that was still quite new, but today you're looking at Fenway Sports Group that owns the Red Sox and Liverpool. You're looking at Todd Boehly that owns the LA Dodgers and Chelsea Football Club. You're seeing more cross-continent transactions, building off so-called global sports empires. And so we're a little bit early there as well. Today, WhiteRock is an advisory company that we're very proud of. We grew it into a nice small business, but we're advising very large clients such as sovereign wealth funds in their sports strategies, ministries of sports as they come up with national sports strategies or host mega events such as World Cups or Olympic Games, and management consulting companies that are all, generalists typically, but when they get sports projects, we come in as experts behind that. Interesting enough, in 2017 is also when LEAD was founded. LEAD stands for Legacy of Adi Dassler. It was founded by the grandchildren of Adi Dassler that asked themselves, what would he do if he was alive today? And long story short, the vision was, he would help young entrepreneurs in the world of sports start successful companies and help them become global brands the way Adidas did that, obviously quite successfully. And with that, in 2017, an accelerator program looking for early stage sports tech startups, the first in Europe actually, was founded in Berlin. And since I had just founded my company, it had headquarters in the US and in Germany, I actually became one of the first mentors in the program. So it was very friendly with LEAD from the get-go. In the meantime, I had moved from New York City to Orlando, Florida, because I really love to play golf and I really don't like to pay taxes. And it was a great solution to accomplish both, to move to the Sunshine State. And for some odd reason, LEAD ended up arriving in Orlando as well, striking a partnership with Tavistock Group here in Lake Nona, which is an amazing smart city development, saying, look, we can do sports tech here. We should also look at health technology, given the medical city we have behind us here in Lake Nona. And now we're going to do a fund, and we're going to use the infrastructure around Lake Nona to build value for the companies we invest in. Now we know we need somebody to run this fund that ideally has some sports experience, has some investment experience, ideally knows the family, and maybe knows where this market is going. And I actually had become a private venture capital investor in 2009 and made some investments here and there. So knew the venture industry, not learning about it the traditional way, but putting my own money to work first and foremost. And I think within that job requirement that I gave you, I was probably the only one within 500 miles of Orlando that kind of fit that bill. So long story short, the guys at LEAD and Tavistock reached out and say, hey, Thomas, could you imagine running the Lake Nona Fund? And I said, yes, I was very excited about this opportunity. And here we are today.
Fantastic. Thank you for that background. So with that, then, let's talk about the Lake Nona Fund. We're here in Lake Nona. I was telling you the other day that, you and I get to share office space here in Lead. And obviously, because of what Lead is, this is a place that, you need keys to get in. You can't just walk in. And the people in the community are always wondering, what do you guys do in there? That place looks so cool. What is it there? You guys, people come in and come out. So let's take this opportunity to share with the community about what we do here with the Lake Nona Fund and how does that relate to Lead.
Yes, absolutely. And yes, there's certainly some mystery to it, what we do behind those doors. But effectively, we're working on the future of sports and health technology with some amazing companies, some of which are working on highly confidential projects and products, some others which are already in market, and you can look it up on a website as easily as just making a few clicks. But there's effectively three things that really matter to us here at the Lake Nona Fund. The number one thing is partnership. Then there's infrastructure, and then there's a global network to it. What do I mean by that? On the partnership side, Lead, as a global sports and health tech investor, has come to Lake Nona to partner with Tavistock Group, the principal development company here in Lake Nona, building this incredible smart city development that goes beyond sports and health with self-driving cars and drones and smart city grids, 5G technology, and so on and so forth. But there is a lot of sports and health and well-being, and the people that move here, mostly younger families and young people, are demanding a lifestyle like that. How can I become healthier? How do I live longer? How do I age slower? How do I stay more active? How can I be engaged? And how can I enjoy the world of sports? So this type of unique partnership doesn't really exist anywhere in the world between, call it a physical entity, and building an entire smart city, and then a leading global sports investor coming together to build those synergies. Which brings me to that second point, infrastructure. On the infrastructure side, we have this smart city, and that gives us really this advantage where we can bring companies here. We can have a living lab to test them out, both on the sports side and on the health side very easily. We have the USTA here. We have the golf club here. We have the Lake Nona Performance Center, probably the most state-of-the-art fitness facility in the country. So a lot of infrastructure on the sports side that we can leverage here. And I always say, like, your traditional VC has a Zoom call or an in-person meeting with the founder, looks at a financial model, maybe a data room, and has a few questions to ask. And that's how you base your opinion, and then you invest in them, and then you meet them maybe sometimes, and you look at quarterly reports. Here we bring companies live into the ecosystem. We can immediately see how the city of Lake Nona and the consumers and residents respond to those companies. There's immediate access to innovation and so on and so forth, which is tremendously valuable to the companies we invest in, but also tremendously valuable to us and our partners at Lake Nona to make Lake Nona a more attractive place to live in, to bring more amazing, innovative companies here, and then to be at the forefront of basically being almost a Silicon Valley for sports and health technology that we're building here. And that happens behind those doors. And then lastly, the global aspect, and then is we wouldn't be the Lake Nona Fund if we weren't also able to leverage Tavistock's global network, 200 companies, and Lead's global network backed by the Adi Dassler family, as well as our 26 other shareholders that are globally supporting us, and gives us the ability to walk companies into the top sports leagues and top investors all around the world pretty effortlessly. And that's the exciting mix with three things and not just three stripes on the Adidas shoe.
Excellent. So let me unpack that a little bit for the audience and just keep me honest. I'm just going to try to bring this to like the everyday life of the people that walk back and forth between Foxtail and Vegenaut and Chroma and Boxy, right? That see us here coming in and out. So it seems like there's two areas, right? And me being a mentor of Lead, I get to see a lot of what's happening on the inside. But it seems like there's two sides of the story as far as how people can benefit from the work that actually takes place in here. On one hand, if you're an inventor, and you started up a company and you have an idea that fits under the umbrella of health and tech and sports, right? There is a path, there is a vehicle, right, for that individual to apply and to try to become part of the ecosystem, right? So as an inventor, this is a place here, if you're here in the Central Florida or anywhere else, it's an opportunity to be part of an ecosystem that is strictly focused on making sure that more technology is available to more people in the field, of course, of health and sports. But then at the same time, there's the other side of that, right? Which is we have a lot of residents here. We have, doctors, we have nurses, we have 3 hospitals here. We have lots of students, we have entrepreneurs, we have engineers, we have people from different walks of life here in the Lake Nona area. And even in the 3 years that I've been here, I have seen the life cycle of a startup company walk in here, go through the process that you and your team put them through as far as growth, and then out comes a product that then you can go online and purchase that can impact your life in a positive way from the sense of health and wellness, right? So as a resident of the community, you're very close to the epicenter of where some of this technology is not only being born, but where it's being brought to life, right? And that, to me, seems very important because usually that timeline takes a long time. I'm an engineer, as you know, and innovation takes a long time before it gets into the hands of the people that need it. But it seems like there's a third component of being able to make that innovation available to the people a bit quicker by virtue of how all of this is structured here inside the doors of LEAD and the ecosystem outside the doors of LEAD. Keep me honest, how I represented this correctly, and what would be your comments on that?
That is 100% true, Rafael, the way you described it. Effectively, what we're able to do here in Lake Nona with the Lake Nona Fund is compress time, right? Without compromising on quality, and by moving things faster, it doesn't mean they're rushed. And what I mean by that is that given that we have access to the entire infrastructure in Lake Nona and really short ways sitting in that center, but also having Tavistock as that partner that is the connector between all the pieces in Lake Nona, decisions can be made incredibly quickly. Introductions are always warm, if not already existent. And as a result of that, you can bring major stakeholders in that can provide feedback, use cases, can become clients, can become experts involved in the companies that we bring in, which is an unbelievable unfair advantage to those companies that join us here in Lake Nona from all over the world. We've had companies from Colombia, from the UK, from all parts of the United States, from literally almost every continent. And again, they're really benefiting from this really quick and short decision-making cycle. That is something that if you are a startup and you're coming into a city like New York or Los Angeles and you don't know anybody yet and you need to knock on every door and have those meetings to get to know them, something that takes a week in Lake Nona could take you 6 months elsewhere, because we are just that much quicker and we're an integrated community that brings so much combined value. And obviously you're well familiar with that aspect as well. Now, that is great. The other thing that we see, however, is really interesting people coming in and out of our space too. Yes, our doors are locked, but if you knock and ask nicely, we might give you a little bit of a tour of what is actually going on in there, and you will find incredible people. Right, Rafael, you know that well. But innovation can come from all walks of life, right? We have had companies in our program in Lake Nona with students from UCF that were literally still in school, had not graduated, and came up with an incredible product that is now, they have their own office, they're scaling, they have investors from all over the world, and they literally sat across the desk from another company of seasoned entrepreneurs, one of which has nearly 500 patents. The other one has had successfully IPO'd a company, and obviously are working on something highly exciting as well. So you never know where innovation and value comes from. And whether it's the young student or the seasoned entrepreneur, they all have a right to be there because they earned their way in. And we're looking not like who you are, but what you bring to the table and what the innovation is and the change you can bring to the world. And that is amazing. In addition to that, on a lucky day when you're there, you might see world famous athletes walk in and out to come visit our companies and check in on them. Delegations from Brazil or Argentina or Germany or from New York City come and check it out on a daily basis, creating an incredibly dynamic and intellectual environment.
Fantastic. So where do we go from here? What does the future hold? How do you see us moving forward with this ecosystem over the next, say, 2 to 5 years?
It's going to gain steam. So while we have become quite known, or at least a mysterious spot on the Lake Nona map for the residents of Lake Nona, we have in the last 2.5 to 3 years also made a name for ourselves for the Lake Nona Fund. So we're at this point now where we have an established portfolio. We have 13 companies in it. We're very active despite a tougher investment market because we're seeing so much innovation and great companies. That means as we're telling companies, we're telling the story, we're investing in companies, we're bringing in athletes as co-investors, we're leveraging Lake Nona, we're communicating use cases. The quality of companies that are applying are getting better on a daily basis. And so what you will see is more innovation, additional investments, potentially larger funds in the future that bring more and more people to Lake Nona, and eventually office buildings where some of our companies that had a desk will eventually have an office with a conference room, eventually maybe a whole floor, and eventually maybe a whole building. That is certainly the vision for us to do that. And then hopefully along the way, make all of us a little bit of money as well.
And you bring a good point in there. That is one of my favorite aspects of being here is how close we are to the Orlando International Airport. As you and I travel a fair amount, and I have met a number of people over the past 3 years being here where that is actually quite important to be able to come in and out. I am literally 9 minutes door to door from where I live to the Delta terminal, right? And that is unquantifiable value, for you, for me, for all of the companies that are here to be able to have meetings, and you can shuttle, guests very, very quickly, staying at the Wave Hotel or staying across the street at the other properties, but being in and out of the airport so quickly, so close, but yet still be in a very new an up-and-coming location. That's got enormous value as well.
Yes, absolutely. And the logistics, I want to say, have improved from a Lake Nona perspective, even since COVID, when a lot of destinations or hubs were closed during COVID, with Florida being fairly open and an airport that can get you very easily from all over the world. It has actually brought in more people through our door of a higher quality that are realizing what is happening in Lake Nona, and all of a sudden puts major hubs like Silicon Valley, LA, New York, and others to shame, especially if you're an entrepreneur that is ambitious and is really looking to connect with like-minded individuals. This is a very, very welcoming community, right? And as investors, we want to make sure we are investing in companies that not only can be successful on a standalone basis, but can also work very well with the other companies in our portfolio, because that shows, number one, that you're a good leader and you recognize synergies and you are a team player. But we also invest in the same sectors, and there are naturally synergies between companies, and together it makes them stronger, whether that's combined sales channels or combined strategies or market entry strategies that might come together. All of that makes a ton of sense. So, what we have seen here, given the accessibility, is that, yes, people from all over the world come. We now have the Bright Line also stopping at the airport as well, which makes direct connectivity to South Florida and Miami, and might make it attractive for some South Florida focused startups to come to us as well. More to be perhaps announced in the future, but is certainly be a huge positive for us.
So what are some actions we can leave the audience with Obviously, we've talked about the fund and how the fund operates and the types of companies and the types of technologies that, you choose to invest in. It seems like everything is under the umbrella of sports, health, and technology. But that is a very wide net. I mean, it seems like, it's actually quite narrow, but it's not. The moment you combine sports and technology, or medicine or health and technology, a whole slew of opportunities, open up, right? And then you have the example of a company, that you mentioned, where that was kind of on the outskirts of that bubble, right, if you will. So is it safe to say that even though that is the core, that maybe things that are maybe on the outskirts will also be looked at, and that also can benefit from the opportunity of starting a company and growing a company here in Lake Nona? Or is more specific, we want to be very, very specific and surgical about being a sports, health, and technology fund?
Well, look, we're certainly the best at when it comes to core solutions in sports technology and health technology. But that doesn't mean that we would say no to what we believe is an amazing company where we have high conviction, where we might get a little bit more creative around our investment thesis to make it fit. And with that really speaks to obviously the family, both on the Tavistock side as well as on the lead side, to say, we were born out of entrepreneurs, and to have that entrepreneurial spirit to kind of say, yes, we have boundaries, and yes, we have investors that are expecting us to invest in sports and health technology. But if we see something that is going to be hugely successful, we're going to try to find a way to make that work. And so, we are a seed stage fund. We invest in seed stage companies. We invest from as low as $400,000 to as much as $1 million into the best companies at the seed stage, and can invest 2 to 3 times that to companies for follow-on investment into their next round. So those are significant capital injections. We're typically the first institutional investor for companies that come to Lake Nona. They usually have already a little bit friends and family money, or bootstrap with their own money until they become eligible for us. And we certainly have some verticals we're certainly more hot on sometimes than others, like, recovery, preventative health, fan engagement, and so on and so forth. But we reserve the right to change those as the world changes, right? Whereas 5 years ago, nobody talked about AI. If you're not looking at AI right now, you're probably a little bit behind. And with that in mind, as the world evolves, so do we. So we can't be stuck in a thesis. We got to evolve. And that's really the fun of things, because we feel like as the world evolves, Lake Nona evolves just a little bit faster.
That is fantastic. Well, what would you like to leave the audience with as we wrap this conversation, Thomas?
Yeah, Rafael, I would love to leave the audience with a little bit of a call to action. If you're listening to this and you're learning about the Lake Nona Fund, come knock on our door, check it out, meet me and my team to really understand what we do in a little bit more detail, talking about the companies that we have seen and that we actually invested in. Would blow up the time frame of this podcast with you. But at the same time, if you can think of amazing companies that are looking for seed stage money in sports and health tech, I would love to know about those companies. And I would love for those founders to get in touch with us to see whether we can get a Lake Nona story out of them as well and help them be successful as it was intended.
That is fantastic. Well, Thomas, I thank you for your time. I appreciate, I know you're a busy man. This has been a good conversation. I'm pretty sure that the community here will appreciate to know a little bit more of what happens in here behind these doors. And I guess I will see you on the golf course tomorrow.
I will see you on the golf course tomorrow. That's right. Bring your money, bring your checkbook. And it was an absolute honor to be on your show. So thank you very much, Rafael. I can't wait to see what comes of it.
Thank you, Thomas.